The distress signal was already 3 seconds old when Lieutenant Cole Navarro pulled it up on his wrist display, and 3 seconds in deep space was the difference between a rescue and a recovery. He did not wait for clearance. He grabbed the emergency kit from the wall rack, slapped the bay door release, and ran. The corridor of the station hummed with recycled air and the low vibration of the reactor 2 decks below. Cole had been stationed at Outpost Relay 7 for 11 months. Nothing happened here. Nothing was supposed to happen here. Relay 7 sat at the edge of mapped space, a waypoint between human territory and the vast silence beyond. Its job was to listen, not to act. Cole was about to make it act. The signal was short, compressed, and encoded in a frequency his console flagged as non-human but translatable. The translation was rough. Distress. Life signs, hull breach. Coordinates attached. The coordinates were close. Close enough that whoever sent this had either known where Relay 7 was or gotten very lucky. He hit the dock bay at a sprint, punched his personal override code into the short-range scout vessel, and strapped in before the bay had even finished pressurizing. His commanding officer, Lieutenant Colonel Diane Ford, was going to yell at him for this. He was already composing the apology in his head. The scout cleared the bay, and the darkness opened up in front of him. He found the ship in 4 minutes. It was small, maybe a third the size of the Scout, and it was in bad shape. The hull had been sheared along the port side as if something enormous had scraped across it. The running lights were flickering. One engine pod was dark, the other was venting something pale and crystalline into the vacuum, catching the distant starlight like a slow-motion sneeze. Cole matched velocity, extended the docking arm, and locked on. The airlock cycling took 40 seconds. He counted. Every one. When the inner door opened, the smell hit him first. Not bad. Strange. Like rain on hot metal and something sweeter underneath. Like overripe fruit left in a warm room. The ship interior was dim, lit by emergency strips in a color humans would call amber, but deeper, almost bronze. He moved through the corridor, calling out, "Hello? Can you hear me? I am here to help. I am human. From Relay 7. I am not a threat." Not a voice. A sound like someone trying to form words, but not quite reaching them. He followed it to the back compartment. She was on the floor, sitting upright against the wall, which he would later learn meant she was conscious and functional by her species standards. She was tall, even sitting. Her skin was a dark silver blue, the kind of color that shifted when the light moved. Her eyes were large, taking up a third of her face, golden with pupils that were horizontal slits. She had 4 arms, the lower 2 folded tight against her torso, in what he would eventually learn was a defensive posture. Her hair was not hair exactly, more like dense fibrous strands, dark copper, and they were moving faintly even though there was no air movement in the room. She looked at him. He held up both hands, palms out. Universal enough, he hoped. She made the almost word sound again. His wrist translator beeped. It was picking up her language. It would need time to calibrate. He crouched down slowly, keeping himself at her eye level, which meant getting very low to the ground. "You sent a distress signal," he said. "I received it. You are safe now." "I will not hurt you," the translator processed, played back her response in English a few seconds late. "You are very small," it said. Cole blinked. "I get that a lot." She looked at his hands, then at his face. Her copper strands stilled. "You came alone," the translator said. "Yes, that is not wise." "Probably not," he agreed. "Are you injured?" She extended one of her upper arms. There was a gash along the inner joint, sealed with something dark and dried. She had already treated herself. She was watching him to see how he reacted to the wound. "I have basic medical supplies, human-made. I do not know if they will work on your biology. Can I try?" The translator lagged. She studied him. Then she extended the arm further. He worked carefully. The wound was deeper than it looked. She did not flinch. Not once. She watched his hands with the focused intensity of someone cataloging every movement, storing it, analyzing it. He had the feeling of being studied by something that was very, very good at studying. "What happened to your ship?" he asked, partly to distract himself from the weight of her attention. "Something was in the dark," she said. "It did not want to be seen. My ship saw it anyway." Cole wrapped the wound with what he had and sat back. "Can you stand?" She unfolded all four arms, pressed two of them against the wall, and rose. She was, when vertical, nearly 2.5 feet taller than him. She looked down at him with those golden eyes. "You are the first human I have seen outside of records," she said through the translator. "And you are the first of your species I have ever seen at all," he said. "I do not even know what your species is called." She said a word that the translator rendered as Veth. Then she said her name. The translator gave him the closest phonetic match it could manage. "Zelara," he said, testing it. Her copper strands rose slightly. He had no idea what that meant. "Close enough," the translator said, a beat after she spoke. And then she added something the translator flagged as idiomatic and uncertain. It rendered it as, "You will do." He took her back to Relay 7. Lieutenant Colonel Ford was waiting at the airlock with her arms crossed, and the specific expression she reserved for situations that required discipline, but also contained a note of reluctant admiration. She looked at Cole. She looked at Zelara. She looked at the ceiling as if asking the station itself for patience. "Debrief," she said. "Both of you. Now." Zelara looked at Cole. The translator was still calibrating. "That one is in charge," Cole said. Zelara looked at Ford. Something shifted in her posture, the lower arms relaxing, the upper ones drawing back. Some kind of recognition. One authority acknowledging another. "Your human is efficient," Zelara said through the translator. Ford looked at Cole. "Did she just call you mine?" "The translator is still calibrating," Cole said. Ford turned and walked toward the briefing room. Zelara watched her go, then looked down at Cole again. "She is small also." "We all are," he said. "You will get used to it." He was wrong about that. She never quite did. But that was a problem for later. And later was rushing toward them both faster than either of them had any way of knowing. The debriefing lasted 3 hours. Zelara answered Ford's questions with a precision that impressed even Ford, who was not easily impressed. Her species, the Veth, were explorers by designation and collectors by instinct. Not collectors of things, collectors of information. Zelara had been on a solo survey run to chart the unmapped region past the relay's edge when something had clipped her ship and sent her spinning into human-adjacent space. "What clipped you?" Ford asked. Zelara described it. The translator worked hard. What came out was a vessel of intent, not exploration, not trade. It moved like something that wanted to remain unknown. It succeeded. Ford looked at Cole. Cole looked at his notes. "You saw no visual?" Ford asked. "I have recordings," Zelara said. She produced a small device from a compartment in her suit. She placed it on the table. "My ship's system captured what it could before the hull breach." Ford took the device carefully. "We will need to analyze this." "I expected that," Zelara said. "I brought it for that purpose." Ford studied her. "You were going to find a human station to bring this to." "I was going to find any station," Zelara corrected. "Yours was the one I found." There was a pause. "But," Zelara added, and the translator's lag made it land with odd weight, "I think yours is the right one." She folded her hands. Cole recognized the gesture. It meant she was deciding something. "We do not have facilities for a VF," Ford said. "We have an empty habitat module that we can modify. It will not be comfortable." "I have been in worse," Zelara said. "We cannot return your ship to operational condition. The hull damage requires a dry dock." "Which means you are here until we can get you transport." "I know that also." "And the recording you brought, if it shows what you described, this becomes a command-level situation. Relay 7 is not equipped to handle that." The translator did not speak. But something in her expression did. Cole looked at Ford. "We handle what we have until we have something more." Ford exhaled through her nose. "I am going to be doing paperwork until I die." She stood. "Navarro, get her to the habitat module. Get her what she needs. Figure out what she can eat without it killing her." "Yes, Colonel." But Ford picked up the device. She looked at it for a moment. Then she looked at Zelara one more time, and Cole caught something in her face that he did not see there often. Concern, real concern, the kind that came not from protocol but from instinct. "Welcome to Relay 7, Ford said. Zelara tilted her head. The translator rendered her response 2 seconds late. "I want to see everything," she said. "All of it. Everything you have here, everything you know, everything you do. I want to understand how humans work." Ford raised an eyebrow at Cole. Cole offered his most diplomatic expression. "She is an information collector." "I can see that," Ford said. "Let us hope she does not collect too much." She walked out. Zelara watched her go. Then she turned to Cole, and the translator struggled for a moment before it found the words for what she said next. "Show me," she said. "Start anywhere. I do not care where. Just do not stop." Cole stood up. "All right," he said. "Follow me." She did. And for the first time in 11 months, Relay 7 felt like it was actually doing something. The habitat module was utilitarian, built for human-sized occupants, with a ceiling that made Zelara tuck her head and a bunk that came up to her knees. Cole spent the first hour rearranging furniture with her, watching from the doorway, commenting through the translator on his methods with the earnest curiosity of someone who had never watched a human solve a spatial problem in real time. "You moved that 3 times," she said, watching him push the desk. "Yes. Is that normal? When you are trying to make something fit that does not fit, yes." She came inside and picked up the desk with 2 of her hands and held it at eye level, turning it slowly. "Where does it need to go?" Cole pointed. She set it there. "First, try. First, try." "Thank you," he said. "You are inefficient," she said. But the translator's rendering was flat, and Cole was starting to learn that flat was not cold. Flat was curious. Flat was her default register when she was most engaged. He requisitioned a cot frame extension from storage, stacked 2 mattresses, and got her a sleeping surface that she could at least use without folding herself in half. She tested it by sitting on it, which made it groan ominously, but it held. "Acceptable," she said. He handed her a tablet loaded with the station's introductory files, environmental guides, emergency procedures. She looked at it. She looked at him. "Is this all?" she said. "To start." She was already reading before he finished the sentence. Her eyes moved differently than human eyes, not left to right, but in a wider sweep, taking in whole sections at once. She turned the page. Turned it again. He watched her go through 3 pages in the time it would have taken him to finish 1 paragraph. "You read fast," he said. "I process text in parallel," she said, not looking up. "It is a Veth trait. We are built for intake." She turned another page. "Your emergency procedures are very long." "We have a lot of emergencies." She looked up at that. "How many?" "Statistically, more than you would expect from a species our size." She considered this. "I have read 17 accounts of human conflict in Veth records. Your species fights with great creativity. That is one word for it." "It is an accurate word." She turned another page. "You also build things very fast. You rebuild them after conflict and begin again. The cycle is remarkable." Cole leaned against the door frame. He was starting to understand what Ford had meant. Zelara did not ask questions the way someone uncertain asked them. She asked them the way someone taking inventory asked them. Each answer went somewhere, filed, cataloged, connected to the next. "What do Veth do after conflict?" he asked. She paused on her page for the first time. "We do not have conflict in the same way. We debate. We record the debate. The losing position is preserved alongside the winning one because the losing position may be correct in a different context." "That is very practical." "It is the only logical approach," she said, and went back to reading. Cole brought her food options from the kitchen, having already cross-referenced her species' dietary data with what the station had available. He was working from a database entry that was 2 years old and flagged as incomplete. He set 3 options on the small table near her bed. She stopped reading. She looked at the options. She picked up the first container and smelled it carefully, using 2 of her 4 nostrils in sequence. Set it down. Picked up the second. Smelled it. Set it down. Picked up the third. She tasted it. Her copper strands lifted. All of them, straight up, then settled. This one, she said. What is it like? She took another taste, deliberate, analytical. It tastes the way a cold morning smells, she said. That is very specific. I told you, I am built for intake. She took a third taste, and I want more of it. Do not stop bringing it. Cole made a note. She read through the night. He knew because the light under her door was on when he passed at 2 a.m, and when he came back at 5, it was still on. At breakfast, he brought her more of the food she had approved, and a mug of something warm that their nutritionist had flagged as safe for Veth biology. She was sitting cross-legged on her reinforced bunk, the tablet in 2 of her hands, a second tablet he had not given her in the other 2. She had somehow accessed the station's public network and pulled additional files. Where did you get that? He asked. Your network has 11 open nodes, she said. I used 1. He pinched the bridge of his nose. You should have asked. I did not want to wait. She looked at him over the tablet. The information was there. I could reach it. I reached it. He pulled up a chair. What are you reading now? Your mission logs. The ones marked non-classified. She tilted the screen. You have been here 11 months. You have filed 412 routine reports and 2 anomaly reports. You read all of them? The anomaly reports are interesting. The routine reports are less interesting, but more revealing. How are 400 routine reports revealing? She looked at him with those golden eyes, and the copper strands moved in a slow, thoughtful pattern, because they show what you consider normal. And what humans consider normal is the most interesting thing about you. Cole did not have an answer for that. She picked the tablet back up. Your species treats extraordinary circumstances as problems to be solved, and ordinary days as the actual content of life. Most species do the opposite. Veth do the opposite. We document the extraordinary and let the ordinary pass unrecorded. And which approach is better? He asked. She considered. I do not know yet, she said. That is why I am still reading. She turned a page. Also, your coffee is extremely strange. You tried the coffee? You left it on the table when you brought it in. I was curious. And? She paused on her page. It tastes like urgency. I do not know how a flavor can taste like urgency, but it does. Another page. I want to understand how that is possible. I want to understand everything about this place. She looked at him again, and this time the translator caught a quality in her voice that he was starting to recognize as her version of something almost like excitement. Do not let me run out of things to read. We have 7 years of mission logs, he said. Her strands lifted. "Good," she said. "Show me everything." "I am serious. Everything. I will tell you when I have had enough." She turned back to the tablet. Cole had a feeling that moment was never going to come. The recording from Zelara's ship took 3 days to analyze. Ford ran it through the station's forensic imaging system, which was not designed for alien sensor formats and had to be coaxed and argued with by Lieutenant Priya Okafor, the station's systems analyst, who spent most of those 3 days drinking too much coffee and making sounds of concentrated distress. Zelara spent those 3 days learning the station. She did not ask for a guide. She walked. Every corridor, every bay, every compartment that was not locked. She moved with the steady attention of someone reading a very long book, pausing at access panels, at equipment racks, at the observation window that looked out into the dark. The crew of Relay 7, all 11 of them, adjusted to her presence with varying speeds. Corporal Wendy Huang was the first to talk to her voluntarily. Wendy was the station's botanist, responsible for the small hydroponic bay that kept everyone from getting scurvy, and she found Zelara crouched in front of the tomato plants, with 2 of her arms behind her back and 2 extended very slowly toward a leaf, not touching, just hovering. "They will not bite," Wendy said. Zelara looked at her. "I know. I was being careful not to disturb the growth pattern. Plants respond to vibration. You know about plant vibration response? Veth have had botanical science for 600 years. Zelara tilted her head toward the plants. Your grow lights are slightly blue shifted. These would prefer more red spectrum at this stage. Wendy pulled up a stool. "Okay, sit down. Tell me everything." It went like that. One by one, the crew found themselves pulled into conversations they had not planned on having, about subjects they had not expected to care about, with Zelara asking questions that sounded simple and then turned out to have no simple answer, which was the point. She did not ask to pass time. She asked because she wanted the answer, and when she got it, she wanted the next one. Sergeant Derek Paul, the station's mechanic, spent an afternoon showing her how the reactor coolant system worked. She asked 9 questions in the first 10 minutes and then fixed a minor pressure or irregularity that Derek had been ignoring for a month, using a tool she had borrowed from his rack and a technique she invented on the spot. "How did you know that would work?" Derek asked. "I did not," she said, handing the tool back, "but the physics suggested it. Did it work?" He checked the readout. "Yes." "Then it worked," she said, and moved on to the next thing she wanted to see. On day 2, Ford pulled Cole aside in the corridor. "She is running a one-woman survey of this entire station," Ford said. "I know," she fixed Derek's coolant irregularity. "I heard she told Wendy Huang 3 things about the hydroponic lights that Wendy is now implementing." Also heard. "Navarro, what is she doing?" Cole thought about it. "She is doing what she said she was going to do," he said. "She is learning us. And what does she do with what she learns?" "Records it," Cole said. "That is what Veth do. They collect information and keep it." Ford was quiet for a moment. "Is that all they do with it?" Cole had not thought about that. He thought about it now. "I will ask her," he said. He found her at the observation window. It was late in the station's day cycle. the lights dimmed to simulate evening. She was sitting on the floor in front of the window, all forearms loose in her lap, and she was looking at the stars, not scanning them, not analyzing them, just looking. He sat down beside her. They were quiet for a moment. "Colonel Ford wants to know what you do with the information you collect," he said. Zelara did not look away from the window. "We keep it," she said. "We add it to the Veth record. Every explorer who returns adds their observations. The record grows. It has been growing for 4,000 years. Does anyone use it? Everyone uses it. All Veth. When a Veth needs to know something, they consult the record. It is how we make decisions. It is how we understand the universe." She paused. "It is also how we know when something new is happening." "And are we new?" he asked. She turned to look at him then. The reflected starlight was in her eyes, the golden irises catching it and holding it in a way human eyes did not. "Humans are the newest thing in the record," she said. "Your species has only been in contact with the wider community for 40 years. You have developed faster than any species in the record. You build faster. You adapt faster. You fail faster and recover faster." A pause. "And you are curious in a way that is different from Veth curiosity." "How so?" "Veth are curious about what is. Humans are curious about what could be." She turned back to the window. "That distinction matters. It changes what you discover." Cole looked at the stars. "What are we going to discover next?" "I do not know," she said. "But whatever clipped my ship, it did not want to be discovered, which means it is afraid of being found." She paused. "And that means it is possible to find it." Cole thought about the recording they were still analyzing. The thing in the dark. The ship that moved like it wanted to remain unknown. "We will find it," he said. She looked at him. "Yes," she said. "I think you will." And then she turned back to the window, and there was something in the shift of her copper strands that he could not read yet, but was starting to learn. Priya Okafor knocked on Ford's door at 6 in the morning, holding a data pad and a cup of cold coffee she had forgotten was cold. "I have the recording," she said. Ford was already awake. She was always already awake. "Sit down." Priya sat. She pulled up the imaging on the pad. The recording from Zelara's ship was low resolution, shot through a damaged sensor array, but Priya had run it through 17 enhancement passes, and what was left was not nothing. It was a ship. Not a human ship. Not Veth. Not any configuration in their contact database. It was large, larger than Zelara's, larger than most things that flew through this region of space. It had no running lights, no visible engine signature, no identifying marks. It moved through the recording frame in 11 seconds, and then it was gone, and the edge of it, just the edge, had contacted Zelara's hull and left that long shear across the port side. "It was not malicious," Priya said. "No targeting, no weapons discharge. It was not trying to hit her." "It did not see her," Ford said. "Maybe. Or it saw her and did not care." Priya zoomed in on the ship's surface. "Look at this." Ford looked. There was something on the hull. Texture, patterning, not decorative. Too regular for that. What is that? Ford said. I do not know, Priya said. I sent it to Zelara. Ford looked up. You sent classified imaging to our guest without authorization. Priya had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. She was already awake, and she is better at this than I am. She got back to me in 4 minutes. And? She said the patterning is a notation system. Old. Pre-contact era old. Possibly older than Veth exploration records. Ford was very still. How old? She said she would have to consult the Veth record. But her estimate was at least 8,000 years. Ford sat back. She looked at the image for a long moment. A ship, moving through the dark, old beyond reckoning, and something of theirs had scraped a small Veth survey vessel and kept going. Wake Navarro, Ford said. Priya was already typing. Cole arrived at the briefing room in 4 minutes, still pulling his jacket on. Zelara was already there. She had the image on her own tablet, and she was turning it slowly, looking at it from different angles. You know what this is, Cole said, not a question. I know the notation, she said. I do not know the builders. The notation is a marker system. It means, this vessel is in transit. Do not hinder. Do not follow. It is a warning, Ford said. It is a statement of intent, Zelara said. There is a difference. A warning implies threat. This is more like... She searched for the word through the translator. Protocol. It is following a rule. We just did not know the rule existed. Cole looked at the image. Where is it going? Zelara set the tablet down. She looked at Ford, then at Cole. Her copper strands were fully upright, which he had now seen twice before. Once when she first ate the food she liked. Once when she found the open network mode. It meant she was at maximum interest. I need to contact the Veth record, she said. I need to submit this image and request a cross-reference. It will take time, but if this notation is in the record, we will know what it means. We will know where that ship is going, and possibly where it came from. Make the contact. Zelara was already reaching for her communication device. She stopped. She looked at Cole. When I find the answer, she said, you will want to be ready. Ready for what? He asked. She turned back to her device. I do not know yet, she said. But humans should be ready. That is the part of you that matters most. She opened the channel. The signal went out into the dark. They waited. The Veth record responded in 11 hours. Zelara read the response 3 times, which Cole now knew meant it was complicated. Then she stood up from her station, walked to Ford's office without knocking, and placed her tablet on Ford's desk. Read the highlighted section, she said. Ford read it. Her expression did not change because Ford's expression rarely changed, but Cole watched her jaw set slightly and her breathing slow. By one count, Navarro, Ford said. Cole read it. The notation on the hull was not 8,000 years old. It was older. 12,000 at minimum, and it was not a transit marker. Priya's translation had been close, but not exact. The actual meaning, according to the Rethicord, was closer to vessel of return. It was going back to something, somewhere. And the Veth record had one additional piece of data added by an explorer 600 years ago who had seen the same notation in a different region of space, in a different sector, and had noted its heading. The heading, 600 years ago, had been toward the galactic core. The heading of the ship in Zelara's recording matched. Something very old was going home. "We have to report this," Ford said. "Yes," Zelara said. "This goes to command. This goes to the Coalition Council. This is not a Relay 7 situation anymore." "No," Zelara agreed. "But Relay 7 is where it started. And Relay 7 is where I am." She looked at Cole. "And I have not finished learning yet." She picked up the tablet. She looked at the image of the ship one more time, that ancient hull moving through the dark with its 12,000-year-old notation, going somewhere it had been going since before humans had built their first city. "I will make the report," Ford said. "In the meantime, you continue your analysis. Both of you." She paused at the door. "And Navarro. Next time you take the scout out without clearance, I will write you up." "Yes, Colonel." She was gone. Zelara picked up her tablet. She looked at Cole. The copper strands were still raised. "What do we do first?" he asked. "We find out everything the Veth record knows about vessels of return," she said. "And then we find out what your records know. And then we compare them. And then—" She was already pulling up the database. "And then I will want more," she said. "I always want more. That has not changed. Do not let it stop you from bringing it." Cole sat down across from her and opened his own terminal. Outside the window, the stars were the same as they had always been. Something was moving between them, old and purposeful and unbothered, and two people in a small relay station at the edge of mapped space were starting to understand what that meant. It was not enough yet. It was a beginning.